There's a lot to talk about today because some new developments just popped up that could have a bigger impact than many fans expected. One story is already getting people talking, and the more details that come out, the more interesting this situation becomes. If you're a Seahawks fan, this is definitely something you'll want to keep an eye on because the next few weeks could tell us a lot about where things are heading. Before we jump in, do me a favor, hit that like button if you're repping the Seahawks this season and drop a "Go Hawks" in the comments so I know who's watching with me today. A potentially major development involving the Seattle Seahawks has emerged, and it comes from an ownership story that could have long-term implications for the franchise. While much of the discussion around the league has focused on players, minicamps, and roster battles, a new report has put the spotlight on a possible future owner of the Seahawks, and it is a name that is beginning to generate serious attention. According to reporting discussed in the source material, billionaire financier Todd Bailey is reportedly weighing a bid for the Seattle Seahawks and has already approached potential partners as he explores the possibility of putting together a group capable of acquiring the franchise. The report explains that Bailey has approached potential partners, including Guggenheim partner and CEO Mark Walter, with whom he jointly owns the Los Angeles Lakers and Chelsea Football Club. The report also indicates that Middle East investors have been discussed as potential participants in a Seahawks bid. At this stage, there has been no confirmation that a formal bid has been submitted, and neither Bailey nor Walter commented on the matter. Even so, the fact that discussions are reportedly taking place has immediately created interest among those following the future ownership situation surrounding the Seahawks. What makes this story particularly interesting is the background of the individual involved. Bailey is connected to several major sports organizations. The source highlights ownership involvement with the Los Angeles Dodgers, Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Sparks, and Chelsea Football Club. There is also mention of additional investments in other sports ventures. Rather than focusing solely on financial power, the discussion centers on what those organizations represent and how they have been managed over recent years. The Dodgers were specifically mentioned as an example of a franchise that has become known for aggressively pursuing top talent. The discussion points out that critics sometimes claim the Dodgers are ruining baseball because of their willingness to spend heavily in pursuit of championships. Regardless of whether people agree with that characterization, the important point raised is that ownership groups associated with the Dodgers have consistently demonstrated a willingness to invest significant resources into building competitive teams. That aspect naturally catches the attention of Seahawks fans. Ownership commitment can shape the direction of a franchise for years. The discussion suggests that one of the appealing elements of Bailey's track record is the perception that he is willing to be part of ownership groups focused on winning. The argument made is simple. Fans want owners who are committed to building the strongest possible teams, and Bailey's involvement with successful organizations has sparked curiosity about what his influence could potentially mean if he were ever connected to Seattle's future ownership structure. The Lakers were also brought up as another example. While the discussion acknowledged differences in ownership structures and financial situations, the Lakers were referenced as a franchise that has still found ways to remain competitive and win championships during this decade. The broader point was not about comparing basketball and football directly, but rather examining the history of organizations linked to Bailey and considering what that history says about his approach to sports ownership. The report stops well short of declaring that Bailey will become the next Seahawks owner. In fact, it specifically notes that this situation is different from other reported ownership groups that are known to have submitted bids or are preparing to do so. Nevertheless, the emergence of Bailey's name is significant because it introduces another potentially serious figure into the conversation. As ownership discussions continue to develop, every new name carries weight, especially when that individual already possesses extensive experience in professional sports. At the same time, another story discussed in the source material could have direct implications for the Seahawks from a competitive standpoint. Adam Schefter recently discussed the possibility of Aaron Donald returning to the NFL and potentially rejoining the Los Angeles Rams. According to the discussion, the mere fact that respected insiders are openly talking about the possibility has increased speculation that a return could become more realistic as the off-season progresses. The conversation referenced comments suggesting that if the Rams present Donald with a clear plan for how he would be used, there is a meaningful chance that he could consider returning. While nobody has confirmed such a move, the report emphasizes that prominent league insiders are not typically discussing scenarios like this without hearing something noteworthy from people around the league. A key factor mentioned in the discussion is the Rams' current roster situation, and the idea that playing alongside elite defensive talent could make a return more attractive. The report also notes that the Rams currently possess available salary cap space, estimated at just under $9 million according to Over the Cap, creating at least some financial flexibility if a move were ever pursued. However, the argument presented is that money would likely not be the primary motivation behind any potential comeback. Instead, the discussion frames it as a pursuit of another championship opportunity. For Seahawks fans, this matters because any major addition to a division rival immediately becomes relevant. Whether or not Darnold actually returns remains unknown, but the possibility alone has become a topic worth monitoring. The NFC West is always influenced by major personnel developments, and a player of Darnold's stature naturally generates attention whenever his name resurfaces in league conversations. The source also touched on another Rams-related development involving offensive lineman Eric Jaxon, who was reportedly arrested on a felony domestic battery charge. The discussion emphasized that the allegations remain allegations and that future developments will determine how the situation unfolds. The report noted details released by authorities and media outlets while stressing that the story remains ongoing. Meanwhile, Seahawks fans received at least one encouraging update regarding the team itself. Mandatory minicamp has begun, and there was mention of Zach Charbonnet being seen moving around the practice field despite not being suited up. While the discussion did not provide a full medical update, the observation was viewed positively regarding his recovery process and potential progress. Taken together, these developments create an interesting moment for Seattle. There is a possible ownership storyline that could influence the franchise's future, division rival developments involving Aaron Donald and the Rams, and early minicamp observations beginning to emerge from within the Seahawks organization. None of these stories are fully resolved, but each one could become significantly more important as the weeks move forward. What do you think about Todd Boehly reportedly considering involvement in a bid for the Seattle Seahawks? And would you be excited if someone with his sports ownership background became connected to the franchise in the future? If you're excited to follow every Seahawks update as soon as it happens, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, turn on notifications, and leave a like on this video, because it really helps the channel grow. I want to hear from you as well, so head down to the comments and share your thoughts on this situation. Do you think this could be a game-changing development for the Seahawks? Or are fans getting ahead of themselves? Thanks for watching, and don't leave yet. Click the video that's on your screen right now, because that's where you'll find the next big Seahawks story. The latest Seahawks news, rumors, and updates are waiting for you there.